live in interesting times. Today's stories. Saudi Arabia tests Japan-inspired nap pods for Hajj. Iraqi girls take up swimming in IS-free Mosul. Ebola cases in DR Congo rise to 78, 44 dead. Canadian tipped as new CEO for Air France KLM. Mexico hopes to conclude NAFTA talks with the U.S. The western part of Canada continues to experience hotter temperature. Plus, owner of the famous Japanese hot dog, Japadog, shares his memories of the late Anthony Bourdain. This is Eagle News Canada bringing you stories from around the globe. I am Lou Aquino. Mansour Al-Amer swipes a card to reveal a narrow sleep pod reminiscent of Japan's famed capsule hotels. But this pod is in Saudi Arabia, where the Muslim Hajj pilgrimage begins. The kingdom has plans to introduce capsule rooms in the western city of Mina in the coming days as an estimated 2 million Muslims faithful gather for the 6-day Hajj, one of the 5 pillars of Islam. The free nap pods are part of new measures Saudi Arabia is rolling out this year in a bid to modernize the centuries-old practice of Hajj. The government has also introduced apps for the on-the-spot translation in emergency medical care. Amer is the head of the Saudi charity, the Hajj and Mutamar Gift Charitable Association, which is offering between 18 and 24 capsules for pilgrims to nap in for free in the coming days. Each fiberglass pod, less than 3 meters long and just over 1 meter high, features a mattress, clean sheets, air conditioning, and a large well-lit mirror. The pods can be lined up horizontally or stacked vertically to save on space.
الحاج هذا ضيف الله عز وجل وخدمته شرف، واحنا زي ما بنفكر باللي يخصنا بنفكر باللي يخص الحاج كيف يكون مرتاح في أداء المناسك. والكبسولة فكرة واحدة من أفكار كثيرة الجمعية بتقدمها.
The nap pods provide a solution for pilgrims of limited means who cannot afford to book hotels on site but need a quick rest during Hajj. Each napper will have 3 hours of access for the pods, which are imported from Japan at cost of around $1,114 each. When the pilgrim wakes for the prayer time, 5 times daily in Islam, workers will sterilize the pod before handing it over to the next pilgrim.
فكرة موجودة عالميا في اليابان وفي عدة مدن في العالم. الجمعية شافت أنها تكون مناسبة للأماكن المزدحمة والضيقة في المشاعر المقدسة وفي مكة المكرمة أو المدينة، وممكن يكون في اقتصاد تشاركي مثل ما واحد يمكن يأخذ دراجة هوائية ويركبها لمدة ساعة يوصل مشوار يتركها ويجي غيره يأخذها.
But for Hajj, which takes pilgrims across Mecca and Mina, 2 cities in western Saudi Arabia, home to the holiest sites of Islam, the pods were also inspired by the rising popularity of car and bike sharing.
12 كبسولة في شهر رمضان كانت متاحة لاستخدام قرابة 60 شخص يوميا، ففي 30 يوم عدد كبير جدا من المستفيدين.
The Hajj presents the Saudi authorities with major logistical challenges, as Islam is currently the world's fastest growing religion, according to the Pew Research Center. Providing accommodation for 2 million pilgrims is no small feat, with travelers staying in everything from 5-star hotels to tents pitched in empty lots. Saudi authorities are pushing a smart Hajj initiative to meet the growing demands of Hajj, which coincide with the kingdom's unprecedented modernization drive. Every Muslim is required to complete the Hajj at least once in their lifetime if they have the means to do so. The annual pilgrimage sees the Muslim faithful gather in Mecca, all clad in white, to perform rituals around the Black Kaaba cube. The Hajj also features a symbolic stoning of the devil's ceremony, making the start of Eid al-Adha a 3-day feast. Eid al-Adha includes the slaughter of sheep with the meat distributed to Muslims in need. The ritual symbolizes Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son Ishmael in the order of God. 12-year-old Rama Omar hopes to gain fame in the pool just like her father and grandfather, a bold move in Mosul, a former jihadist stronghold in Iraq, where swimming was never for women. Even before the Islamic State group made Mosul the heart of its self-proclaimed caliphate in Iraq in 2014, conservatism and tradition in the ancient mercantile city meant its pools were only for men. But a year after Iraqi forces reclaimed the city from the jihadists, Coach Omar Ibrahim and his team of 12 young girls are changing that. At 10 years old, Malak Hisham had previously only ever seen women swimming on TV or the internet. Today, she splashes about with her teammates, all of whom are determined to train and win big.
أنا أحب السباحة ووالدي كان سباح ووالدي ووالدتي شجعوني إنه أدخل هاي الرياضة وأشارك بالمسابقات وأربح الجوائز.
Owner Ibrahim Saleh says the complex stayed open throughout IS's crushing 3-year rule, but it was only open for men, and among them, only those dressed according to the jihadist strict codes. But after a bloody 9-month push to retake the city, relative calm has brought a new crowd to Mosul's pools. In her black jumpsuit, pastel pink swimming cap, and tightly strapped goggles, Rama dives headfirst into the 25 by 10 meter pool.
وطموحاتي إنه أرفع اسم بلدي العراق عالي من خلال هذه الرياضة.
From the edge of the pool, Ibrahim shouts instructions to his team.
مدربين سباحة بالمحافظة نفتقر إلى الدعم المحلي والدولي وكذلك نفتقر إلى الدعم المركزي من قبل بغداد.
Malak hopes a few girls at the pool is part of a bigger change.
مثال هسه احنا ندربهم بهاي المستويات والإمكانات البسيطة، ما عندهم ملابس سباحين على مستوى عالمي أو على مستوى محلي، يجون ملابسهم الشخصية.
Her father, Ahmed Hisham, himself a sports teacher, says he didn't hesitate to register his daughter for swimming lessons, but he knows many other families in the city might not be ready to take the plunge. Beyond the hurdles set by society, however, the team has a more pressing challenge. For the moment, Ibrahim has graciously lent them the use of his outdoor pool in Al Muthanna, but in a few months it will be unusable as another one of northern Iraq's often snowy winters set in. The options are limited as many of the city's other pools were destroyed in the battle against IS. 10 years ago, Mosul's municipality launched a major project to equip the city with an Olympic-sized swimming pool. But that project, like many others in Iraq, stalled due to lack of cash. As efforts now ramp up to rebuild, Rama and her team hope that pool will be included in the reconstruction plans. That way, they can train year-round.
أطمح إنه أكون سباحة ماهرة وحلمي إني أكون سباحة وأطلع المركز الأول على طول.
78 cases of Ebola have been recorded in an outbreak in Northeast Democratic Republic of Congo, claiming 44 lives. The health ministry said that the latest outbreak of the viral disease, which is highly contagious and frequently fatal if untreated, has prompted a visit by the head of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. According to the reports from Congolese authorities and the WHO, in all 78 cases of hemorrhagic fever have been reported in the region, of which 51 are confirmed and 27 probable, while 24 suspect cases are under investigation. Confirmed cases are verified by way of laboratory tests on samples taken from patients. The cases treated as probable often concern deceased people who had close epidemiological link with confirmed cases but have not been tested. Congolese authorities reported 2 deaths of confirmed cases at Beni, a trading town with population approaching 250,000 people in North Kivu province. There were also 5 new confirmed cases at Mabalako, including a health worker at the Health Reference Center in Magina, the epicenter of the outbreak in the Beni region. The outbreak is the 10th to strike the DRC since 1976, when Ebola was first identified and named after a river in the north of the country. It affects a part of the country racked by violence for more than 20 years, from all-out war to insurgency and sustained ethnic clashes. 41 deaths were reported in North Kivu and 3 in neighboring Ituri region to the north, according to the Health Ministry. The ministry's Directorate for Disease Control announced on that doctors in Beni had started to use a novel treatment called MAB-114 to treat patients with Ebola. The treatment is the first therapeutic drug against the virus to be used in an active Ebola epidemic in the DRC. MAB-114 is an antibody initially isolated from a survivor of an Ebola outbreak in the western DRC city of Kikwit in 1995, it added. Ebola has long been considered incurable, though swift isolation and rapid treatment of symptoms such as vomiting, diarrhea, and dehydration has helped some of the patients to survive. The quest for a vaccine grew increasingly urgent during an Ebola epidemic that killed more than 11,300 people in West African neighboring states, Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone in 2013 to 2015. Up next, Canadian tipped as new CEO for Air France-KL. Mexico hopes to conclude NAFTA talks with the U.S. The western part of Canada continues to experience hotter temperature. Eagle News Canada will return in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News Canada. Air France-KLM may name its new chief executive during a board meeting, French newspaper Libération reported, tipping Air Canada's chief operating officer, Benjamin Smith, as the winning candidate. The Franco-Dutch airline has been searching for a new boss since Jean-Marc Janelac resigned in May, having gambled his job on getting Air France staff to accept a new pay deal after months of strikes. The nomination of a Canadian to lead Air France-KLM would be unprecedented since the two operators merged in 2004 to create what was then Europe's biggest airline. The group has previously favored French CEOs. Air France-KLM said that the nomination process was ongoing and nothing has been decided for the moment. Smith notably led labor negotiations with pilots and flight attendants unions ahead of the launch of low-cost operator Air Canada Rouge, signing 10-year agreements with both of them. Such experience might come in useful at Air France-KLM, which has suffered months of disruptive and costly strikes by French staff demanding better salaries. Janelac had offered a 7% pay rise over 4 years, saying he would quit if it was rejected, only for 55% of staff to vote down the offer. Smith led the expansion of Air Canada to more than 200 destinations on 6 continents, as well as the launch of its budget sister airline, according to its website. He entered the airline business in 1990 with Air Ontario, later opening his own travel agency. His potential nomination has already raised complaints from Philippe Evin, head of French pilots union SNPL, who said appointing him would mean giving the keys of Air France to the Americans. Air France shares have plunged more than 35% since the start of the year, although they have stabilized since Janelac's departure. The group this month estimated the cost of the 15 days of French strikes between February and June at €335 million. It reported net profits of €109 million for the second quarter, down sharply from €593 million for the same period last year, although that figure was boosted by new accounting rules. Mexico's Economy Minister Ildefonso Guajardo said that the U.S. and Mexican negotiators are making progress and could resolve remaining issues to revamp the North American Free Trade Agreement. He said that once the two nations iron out the pending differences, Canada could then rejoin the discussions. The development raised hopes that a year's worth of sometimes fraught negotiations could reach a successful outcome by the end of the year. Guajardo has been leading a delegation to Washington for 4 straight weeks to try to conclude a deal to rewrite NAFTA in time to be signed before the new government takes office in Mexico in December. He said technical discussions would continue and that he would return to continue the high-level talks. But there remain a couple of things that have to be settled, including the U.S. demand for a sunset clause that would end the trade pact after 5 years unless it was reauthorized. U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer said he hoped to get a breakthrough with Mexico in the coming days. But President Donald Trump said he was in no rush to conclude a deal and reiterated that NAFTA has been a disaster for our country. The U.S., Mexico, and Canada began talks to modernize the 24-year-old trade pact a year ago at Trump's insistence, but the talks were hung up over U.S. demands. Recent discussions with Mexico are largely over provisions affecting the auto industry, and Guajardo said the sides had made a lot of progress, but still needed to finalize details like the transition period for implementing new commitments. Washington has sought to increase the content requirements of auto parts and components produced in North America in order for vehicles to receive duty-free treatment, and also wants a portion to come from high-wage areas, which essentially means the United States and Canada. But Guajardo said there are issues that have to be discussed at the trilateral level. U.S. officials have indicated that if the deal can be agreed by the end of August, it would be possible to win congressional approval for the new NAFTA before Mexico's president-elect Andrés Manuel López Obrador takes office on December 1st. That would allow outgoing President Enrique Peña Nieto to leave with a major accomplishment for his government. That also would put the deal in place before the new U.S. Congress is seated in January, which would protect it from the possibility of opposition if Democrats win control of the legislature in the November midterm elections. The province of Alberta continues to experience smoke from its neighboring province as temperature continues to be hotter than usual. Thomas I. Likeness with our details.
For a second week in a row, smoke from forest fires in British Columbia has fouled Alberta air. The air quality in Edmonton is poor, and it isn't much better in the rest of the province. Just how is this affecting people's lives? The most at risk are people with heart and lung conditions. Young children and seniors are also more sensitive to air pollution. Regardless, everyone is being advised to limit their time outdoors and reduce any intense activity. People who experience moderate to severe problems have been told to consult their doctors. The best advice? Stay indoors, but don't open the windows. This will prevent the smoke from drifting inside. An alternative is to go to a public place with air conditioning, such as a shopping mall, recreation center, or public library. In Edmonton, the city closed its outdoor pools, and Calgary canceled many of its outdoor recreational activities. Playgrounds are virtually deserted, and picnic areas and parks are not being used. The smoke forced Edmonton's professional football team to practice indoors this week. And organizers of the Edmonton Marathon are making contingency plans for this weekend's race, just in case the smoke persists. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News, I'm one with 25.
Coming up, owner of the famous Japanese hot dog Japadog shares his memories of the late Anthony Bourdain. Eagle News Canada will return shortly. This is Eagle News Canada. I am Lou Aquino. Owner of the famous Japanese hot dog Japadog shares his memories of the late Anthony Bourdain and how he brought his business to the international spotlight. Kathleen?
Owner of Japadog, a Japanese-style hot dog which the late Anthony Bourdain featured in his show No Reservations in Vancouver in 2008, shared with us his memories of the celebrity chef. The renowned chef, culinary adventurer, and TV show host Anthony Bourdain shocked the world of his sudden death at the age of 61. He was a gifted storyteller with unwavering passion to explore different cultures from fine cuisine to street food, which inspired viewers and entrepreneurs to discover global flavors.
常に笑顔で接してくれたので、すごい素敵な人だなと思いました。最後に彼はサインを本に書いてくれました。プレゼントしてくれました。
Nuri Kitamura, owner of Japadog, moved to Canada, driven by his ultimate dream of sharing the taste of Japanese food with Canadians. He opened his first stand in 2005, and 3 years later, with its increasing popularity, Anthony Bourdain came to visit Japadog's busiest stand in Vancouver. Bourdain brought Nuriki's business to the international spotlight.
そうですね、彼の番組で取り上げていただいて、すごく世界中の視聴者の人から反響いただきまして、本当にびっくりした記憶があります。もちろんカナダはもちろんユナイテッド・ステイツもそうですけど、世界中の視聴者の人から E メールとか電話をいただいた記憶があります。すごく反響に驚きました。
Noriki said that Bourdain's visit resulted to 2 additional food carts in 2008, to 12 food trucks and stalls in Vancouver, Canada, and 2 food carts in Los Angeles, California. He has also seen great potential of opening his food truck business in the Philippines. Asked about Bourdain's shocking death, Japadog's owner has this to say.
悲しかったです。本当にショックで、なぜなら僕たちのまだ本当にここのワンロケーションの時に彼が来てくれたおかげで、僕たちはやっぱり世界中の人たちにジャパドッグを知ってもらえる機会をいただいたと。本当に彼にはすごく夢をもらったところがあるので、本当にショックだったです。ですので、いつかまたジャパドッグを大きくさせて、彼にジャパドッグを見てもらいたいなっていう思いがあったので、本当に今でもショックです。はい、彼が食べていただいたのは黒豚テリマヨと、当時販売してたネギ味噌というターキーの商品ですね。すごくびっくりして、美味しい美味しいと言って食べてくれました。美味しい美味しい。
Reporting for Eagle News, this is Kathleen Cruz. I am 1with25.
Thank you, Kathleen. This is this week's Eagle News Canada. Join us next week for stories that matter to you. Visit our website at Eaglenews.PH and EagleNewsLive.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. Thank you for watching. I am Lou Aquino. I am 1 with 25.